Chapter 3. What are you doing here? Oxy is talking to Clara on the phone while making sure she is okay, and while talking to her, a vase broke in the living room. He lives alone. Oxy says, Clara, I think someone is in my house. Clara says, what? Okay, so go hide. Or try to get out of the house. Oxy says, there is only one way in my house. You know that, he angrily whispers to Clara. Oxy says in his head, Cosmos, come out now. Cosmos comes out and hangs up on the phone and runs to the bathroom and grabs his bat and slowly walks towards the living room and sees Leaf there and had fallen off the desk when trying to climb through the window. Cosmos looks at him like he's insane and says, why are you in my house? Cosmos / Oxy / Ozzy is wearing a t-shirt and shorts that shows his scars. Leaf says, because I can, now since you summoned me, but your house is hard to get to, and why do you have scars on your legs? Cosmos says, first, just knock on the door, second, none of your business. Leaf says, whatever, now come here. Cosmos says, no, weirdo. Oxy says, yes, please. Oxy says, no. They all said it separately, but not in the head. Leaf says, what the? Cosmos says, sorry, that was the other two. Leaf says, who are the other two? Cosmos sighs and says, the other two are Oxy and Ozzy. Ozzy is the flirty, playful one and barely takes control, and Oxy is the main, who is in control most of the time. He's kind but dumb sometimes, and I am the rude one and serious, who likes to beat people up. Leaf says, whatever, and gets up and hugs him. Cosmos is shocked and says, what are you doing? Leaf says, hugging you? I wanted a hug. Cosmos goes to Oxy and Oxy just leans into the hug. After Leaf had his hug and leaves like a normal person out the front door, Oxy says, cute. Meanwhile, with Callum, he's playing dress up with his sister, which means he's getting dressed up as a princess while his sister does his makeup and hair while they have a tea party. And Leaf knocks on the door and Callum goes to the door and opens it and sees him, and Layla is holding onto Callum's leg, and Callum says, what are you doing here? How do you even know where I live? Leaf dodges the question and says, aw, is that your little sister? She is adorable. Layla doesn't think anything of it and hugs Leaf. Callum says, okay, I'm gonna have to teach you stranger danger. Second, don't dodge the question, Leaf. Leaf says, I am not. Your sister is adorable. What's her name? Callum says, her name is Layla. She is mute. After Leaf hangs out with him and leaves, and once back at the cave, he kills a human who saw him and he is eating it and breaking the bones. The end of chapter 3. This was a chill chapter before the craziness. Chapter 4. You did what? While at school, Oxy is taking a break from class and is sitting on the rooftop, looking at the sky, listening to the morning birds, when he hears someone come up behind him, and before he can look over to see who it is, he gets hit in the head and he starts to bleed a bit in the head. And he looks over and sees it's Aaron and Aaron's older brother, who doesn't even go to the school. Turns out Aaron snuck her brother in so they could beat Oxy up a lot more, and rarely anyone goes up to the rooftop. Oxy says, "What the hell?" Aaron says, "What? We just want to talk." Aaron cracks her knuckles, and Aaron's older brother says, "Come on, cutie, come closer." Oxy gets scared, and even Cosmos gets scared and doesn't come out, knowing his loud mouth will make this situation worse. And Oxy says as he stands up, No, I am just gonna go." Aaron grabs Oxy and holds him down as Aaron's older brother punches Oxy in the stomach, making Oxy cough hard, and keeps hurting him until Oxy can't move and is bleeding in the face and in the horns, since they cut his horns, not off, but just enough for them to bleed. And Aaron and Aaron's brother leaves. After an hour, Cullum goes to the rooftop to look for Oxy, since Cullum didn't see Oxy in class. And he sees Oxy bleeding and unconscious on the ground. And he freezes and runs over to Oxy and yells, "Oxy!" He checks his pulse and it's weak, but he's still alive. He picks him up and runs to the nurse's office, and he is crying, and the nurse says, "What is it?" Sees Oxy and says, What happened? Get him to the bed. I will call an ambulance." After a few hours, Oxy is in the hospital, and Cullum is allowed to go home and relax. After seeing that, and Cullum is walking home and runs into Leaf, who pulls him into a alleyway. That's what I was trying to spell, but accidentally did hallway. And Leaf says, "I heard an ambulance near your school. What happened?" Cullum has red eyes from crying and says, Oxy is in the hospital." Leaf goes eye wide and says, What? What happened?" Cullum tells what he saw and cries and angrily. An angry Leaf is angry. Leaf is angry and says, "Who?" Cullum says, "Aaron and her older brother." Cullum says, crying. Leaf helps Cullum home, and Leaf tells Cullum, "I will handle this." Cullum says, "Please, just don't kill Aaron. I want her to realize what she did and messed up. I just don't care for her older brother." Leaf says with a smirk, "Of course." Later that night, while Aaron and Aaron's older brother were going to the store, that is when Leaf, in his true shapeshifter form, and he hits Aaron, knocking her out, and grabs Aaron's older brother and rips his arm off. And Aaron's older brother screams, and Then his tongue is ripped off. That is when Leaf just kills him. I would do more gore, but then that would be too much for YouTube. After Leaf is done and he's covered in blood, and he drags Aaron's older brother's body to his cave, and after he licks the blood off his hands, and Leaf smirks and says, I will let Cullum take care of Aaron. Leaf leaves Aaron's older brother's body in a tree. I meant to say next to a tree. And a note on him saying, This is my doing. From Shapeshifter. And blood. The next week, Oxy is finally able to leave the hospital, but his horns are still hurting and a lot more sensitive since they are still healing. Once he goes home and he sees Cullum there and Leaf there waiting for him, and Oxy says, How did y'all even get it in my house? Cullum says, The window. Oxy sees the window is broken again. Oxy sighs and lays down on his couch and says, Don't touch my horns. They're extra sensitive still. Leaf says, Okay, but can I still hold you at least? Oxy nods and says, Okay, just don't touch the tail. Leaf holds Oxy so Oxy can sleep. After a while, Oxy falls asleep with Cullum and Leaf holding him and sleeping on his couch. Cullum falls off since the couch can only fit 2 people. The end of Chapter 4.